What's up, my comic book brothers and my comic book sisters from another mister? Today we're going to do a comic book review of Spawn, issue number 313, brought to you by Rated Comics. Let's get to it. Previously on Spawn 312, Spawn needs help and the only hero who can be of use is another Spawn. In this case, that is Jim Downing, the man who once wore the same symbiote costume as Al Simmons himself. Now, in this aftermath of Gunslinger Spawn taking out Heaven's armies, these angels, these sinister angels, he needs to clean up the mess that he made, and a mess he did make. And the more he thinks about that mess, the more enraged he gets, mostly at himself for not reading the signs. And the signs were Calicioso practically rubbed Gunslinger's face in his plans, and like an idiot, Gunslinger took his bait. Cog didn't really think Gunslinger would just join his side by asking. No! He knew this Spawn would reject him, just like he'd done a dozen times before. But that was a century ago, and Cog was becoming an old man, more irrelevant as each day passed. A con artist whose craft had become tired and stale. At least that was the image Calicioso projected back then. Was that all a con too? Was he simply lulling everyone into turning their gaze away from him? And the way he spoke the other day to Gunslinger's human host, it almost sounded as if he'd been in this time for quite a while. So Gunslinger Spawn is just thinking about what needs to be done, and he's just like, what the hell's going on? But for years, Cog bragged about being able to command God's warriors. None paid him much attention. But if he's now come forward in time like Gunslinger and had the power to assemble a horde of dark angels, yo man, that's a freaking problem. And it doesn't matter how easily Gunslinger took him out. The bigger issue is that for some reason, Heaven has given credence enough to allow their dark soldiers to be under Cog's orders. He threatened many times to hunt down Gunslinger's family and slaughter them one by one. Gunslinger struggled up to the rantings of a madman, because how could he hunt down a family that didn't even exist back then and never made any sense? But what's becoming clear is he never met Gunslinger's current family, which have been decimated. He was talking about the family 3 generations in the future. And Gunslinger knew cutting Cog's head off wouldn't kill him, and that's going back to the previous issues of Spawn 308 and 309. As Gunslinger Spawn gets on his high horse, he gets on the horse literally and rides off to get this shit done. Gunslinger knew cutting Cog's head off wouldn't kill him. He did it as a symbolic message. The same message Gunslinger has delivered to everyone and everything that's ever gotten his way. You mess with me, I'm gonna mess with you. This creed was simple. The only ones that didn't understand it were God and Satan's servants, and that's fine with him because he's got a little bit more steam he desperately needs to let out. He charges toward the oncoming dust trail, and though since his arrival in time, in the current time, he's seen dozens of adventures he can't quite understand, and this is the first time he's encountered a metal horse, one which Jessica Priest, or in general a woman, is riding, and she's riding that black beast like a pro, baby.
What do you mean by that?
But Gunslinger's about to find out that not only can women do things they couldn't do 150 years ago, this woman does them better than almost every other man. And her name is Jessica Priest G-Spawn. She gets off, she walks up to him, and Gunslinger Spawn's like, yo man, that's as far as you go. And she goes up to him like, okay, what's happened to you? I'm sure it's not making much sense. I can help you with that. He's like, I don't need your help. And she's like, yes, you do. You actually do. But she doesn't flinch, and her unflinching manner surprises him. She stares him down, unafraid, and that intrigues Gunslinger Spawn. Okay, girl, you got 1 minute. I'm guessing you never asked to be a Spawn or ever wanted all the bullshit complications that go along with it. Now here you are, dragged 150 years into the future trying to figure this out and how to get back. And that's not going to happen, at least not anytime soon. But there are more like you, a dozen more like you. They're all going through the same thing you are, but one of them, the Spawn that brought you here, he's weak right now. And he has nowhere near the power to be able to send you back to your current timeline. That means you're stuck here for a while, whether you like it or not. So you can go out alone if you want, but if that Spawn who brought you here doesn't survive, then you're never going to go back. Girl, says Gunslinger Spawn, I don't know who you are, whose side you're on, but I found all of us from hell. We're not created equal or the same, and some of us are a little bit stronger than the others, and some of us are a lot stronger, and this is Gunslinger Spawn's power me. So don't mess with me, girl. If you know what's best for you, you'll stay out of my way, because I need to find someone right now who's more important than you. Okay, whatever. But that horse you're on, it'll take you far too long. And she knows she's planting a seed to need Gunslinger Spawn's help in the future. So she can't change his mind now, but she could plant a seed of goodwill for the future. So she turns that bike and gives it to Gunslinger Spawn. So now Gunslinger has a tiny smile on his face, And you know, he's happy with that. And he just needs a few tutorials on how to ride this metal contraption, as he would call it, so he can ride off and do business that he's got to do and take care of some shit. But yet something oddly catches Jessica Priest's eye. Something out of place. As she goes into the crime scene and investigates and looks over the death of all these dark angels. If Gunslinger fought a bunch of dark angels, why is this here? She picks it up and it's a white leaf, and she knows it's Redeemers. As she contemplates what that might mean, the black angels all begin to disintegrate. Now, somewhere unknown into the laboratory, Spawn is trying to bring it back. Cygor, as Overkill is watching on. This is going back to the previous issue. Remember, Jim Downey infused Cygor and Overkill with this blood, which just slowed down the recovery. Now, Simmons is angry. He heads to Mark's room, and Mark is not there. And no matter where he looks, Mark seems to be gone. And so is Jessica. And in the computer room, Al finds a pile of Mark's files. Inside, there are a few clues as to where his missing visitors has gone. Al's angry, and his anger only grows. What could they have been thinking, he asked himself. And Spawn looks to Overkill like, yo, man, I need to make you undead. You still need time to recover like Cygor. You're already behind schedule. Plus, I have someplace to go. He goes to locate Mark and Jessica Priest. No, I come too, says Overkill. Though he knows he might regret it, Simmons also knows he is at a weakened state, and truthfully, he can use some backup. He takes a few minutes getting prepared, then warps the two of them in his cape before melting into the shadows, transporting them halfway around the globe. And this obviously got Overkill kind of transportation sickness motion, kind of, if you want to call it that. I don't know what the term is, but yeah, he's sick. You know, he has to let it out a little bit. Whoever's on that island that Spawn's looking for, he is hoping that that person forgot that they both can breathe underwater. Yes, Spawn's plan is to walk along the bottom of the sea to get to the island. He's tested his weaponry, and they can handle being submerged in salt water. He doesn't know the same about Overkill being, submerged that deep into salt water that long. Ultimately, he'll never know that answer because the ground beneath him begins to start and pulsate, and the sand begins to shudder. Overkill's leg sinks into the deep white sand before he's quickly swallowed to his torso. Something is grabbing him. Desperately, Spawn tries to save his drowning partner. And any other time he would have easily had the strength, but right now, not in his current weakened state, and he has to preserve his strength because he don't know what lies ahead of him, and he might need it later. Eventually, he loses his grip and he loses Overkill, leaving only a split second for him to try something different. Shoots to the ground, nothing, and then the earth vomits something. And this time, it's Overkill that earth vomits him back out, and Spawn clutches Overkill with the death grip, harnessing every ounce of energy he has left. The struggle to exact this monstrous partner feels like it's taken forever. In reality, it's slightly more than 5 minutes. The heroes collapse back and lay on the warm sand, though their solace is short-lived as the sand again begins to tremble. Harder and harder, the ground shakes, and then it releases its birthing. This fucking monolith right here. When the smoke clears, Spawn sees a gigantic creature with bloodlust in his eyes. More concerning is this thing is scarred with the mark of a hellspawn. This guy looks imposing as hell. The first move comes from Overkill. No, says Spawn, you're not ready. And Overkill just lays haymaker after haymaker onto him. What ensues is a brawl so completely one-sided that Spawn can barely force himself to watch. Crack! As Monolith lays another punch to his jaw. Mechanical parts and guts are scattered everywhere as he impales Overkill with his own fist in his midsection. And now the killing blow as he lifts up and delivers it, or is about to deliver it. Spawn's like, stop! Don't freaking move! Surprisingly, the creature listens. The Hellspawns stare down one another. They call me Monolith. And Spawn's like, I don't give a shit. Lays, unloads everything in his arsenal on him. This may be some malformed hybrid Spawn, but as it lunges like some raging bull, Spawn only cares about exacting his revenge. And that's where we end this issue of Spawn, issue number 313. I love how you get introduced of Gunslinger Spawn and Jessica Priest when they have the first interaction in an engaging way. It shows the challenges that each of them are dealing with. Spawn knows she needs to plant seeds in the future to get Gunslinger's help later on. So that planting a good seed for good measure, giving him a bike, that is really a good measure that will plant a good seed down the line, as we later discover in Gunslinger Spawn issue, where Gunslinger Spawn seeks her out, and as he eventually joins the Scorch, which we cover the Gunslinger Spawn issues and all the Scorch issues in this channel. Link in description. Check out the Spawn playlist, Gunslinger Spawn playlist, King Spawn playlist, and the Scorch playlist at the end of this video. So yeah, I dug it. I'm looking forward to catching up on the rest of the issues. Now, Spawn 314, I did do a review on way back like a year and a half ago, but I'm going to redo it and give it more of a breakdown than I did before. So I'm looking forward to that. And this is a complete story arc of the Cult of Omega. Link in description if you wish to add any of these comic books to your comic book collection. Support the art, support the industry. With all that being said, Spawn, issue number 313. What you guys think of the comic book? Comment below, let me know. And also, if you like the content we're throwing up, you know what to do. Don't be shy, don't be stingy. Here at Rated Comics, we do awesome comic book reviews, comic book related content with the occasional comic book giveaway. And also, this video is sponsored by coffee, so if you'd like to buy your boy a cup of coffee, link in description. But the greatest compliment you guys can do is by liking this video and subscribing to this channel. Thank you again for watching. Until next time.